I want to first go to Roger Stone, one of the top political operative strategists in the country, an informal advisor to Donald Trump. By the way, Roger, you've always told me that politics is like war, and one of the important things in war is to enforce one's will on your opponent. Has Donald Trump enforced his will on Barack Obama for the first time in living memory of any Republican politician, to have Obama stand up yesterday and give that? He was furious when he had to give that speech yesterday about radical Islam.
Yeah, this has happened several times. Trump has a unique ability to get under Obama's skin and make him act. So he's dominating the dialogue, and the candidate who dominates the dialogue is the candidate who wins.
What and how do you think that's playing out now with Hillary Clinton? Is Obama feel like he's got to come in and help her on the playing field, that she can't get it done herself? I mean, because she yesterday actually kind of gave up and you know, she almost like was spitting nails about saying radical Islam. But then Obama came in later. Now clearly it was a coordinated attack, but you know, Obama acts like the senior partner here, doesn't he?
Yeah, they clearly have caught them. They've been caught, I think, unawares here. And I think they're sustaining some very substantial damage. This is not the first time we've seen this happen. It happened after Paris. It happened after San Bernardino. It happened after the woman was killed in San Francisco by an illegal. I mean, as we've gone along, there have been these cataclysmic events, all of which have had the side effect of propelling Donald Trump forward. And I think that narrative has repeated itself yet again, most recently now.
I want to talk about, you know, after our conversation on Monday, I believe it was, the Daily Mail wrote up our interview. It was one of the lead stories in the Daily Mail. It got massive traffic on the Daily Mail. And then later in the day, I was informed by the Evercrack Breitbart Operations Center that tracks all of our Facebook that my interview with you was the, I think, number 2 or 3 story in the world trending on Facebook. It was on fire about Umma. Then yesterday, Politico, Mike Allen actually made it one of the top stories in Playbook, which is what kicks off the day in or the Breitbart article we had about your investigation and our interview. Can you get us up to date and let's go back through it? Why is this so controversial? Umma Abedin's been around for a long time, and she's had John McCain and a lot of defenders. Why is it what you're doing and with some assistance by Lee Stranahan, why is it like now such new and fresh information?
Well, other than a piece in Vanity Fair and a piece in Harper's, most mainstream media outlets have steered clear when it comes to focusing on the actual, clear, deep, inarguable, indisputable connections between Umma Abedin and a Saudi Arabian official named Abdul Omar Nassif, who's a kingdom insider and was one of the founders of the Muslim World League. They also, therefore, blow off the fact that the Muslim World League is directly tied to the Rabitha Trust, the Rabitha Trust being a Saudi charity that the U.S. government said formally was financing bin Laden and the attack on the United States on 9/11. So this isn't conjecture. We're not guessing. We're not making this up. There's some very serious questions for Hillary Clinton as to who Umma is, where she came from, her indisputable radical background, her ties to not only this shady operative, this shady Saudi operative, but her ties to groups that are financing terrorism. David Brock attacked me. Keith Olbermann attacked me. Any day that those guys attack you is a good day. That means you're doing something right.
You know, she came up through the Muslim Student Association, and we just had Frank Gaffney on earlier, and we had one of the congressmen yesterday. There's a bill before the House. I think it's got 80 co-sponsors, and they're trying to get more, and we're going to make a big effort to designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. And I can tell you, I sat with many of the people that were associated with with General al-Sisi's government and throwing the Muslim Brotherhood out. These are Egyptian nationalists. They're all devout Muslims. Okay, these are all devout Muslims. And I sat there, and these guys would tell me categorically to a man that the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. What they did in Egypt was try to take over the country. So how come no one's ever made a big deal about her association? The Muslim Student Association is another Muslim Brotherhood front group. The Muslim Brotherhood, and her mother is very involved in the Women's Auxiliary, was it not, of the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yes, she is one of the foremost advocates for genital mutilation in the region, has written about it and spoken about it very extensively. Her parents are radicals. Her brothers are radicals. They are all involved with the Muslim League, with the World League. This is interesting in the sense that we now know that she has, because of the entire email scandal, she's had full and total access to all of Hillary's email. In fact, she and Cheryl Mills are the two aides that vetted and decided what should be destroyed.
Okay, Roger, here's what I understand. When I came out of the fleet, and came back to the Pentagon, I had a very high security clearance on the ship because of the types of weapons we had. But when I came back to the Pentagon, I then got what's called a compartment, because I was a special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations. I got what's called a compartmented security clearance, an SITK security clearance. And in that security clearance, the FBI, because we found out later from they went back to the neighborhoods I'd been born in, and at that time I was in my mid 20s. They went back to the neighborhoods I was born in and had been raised in, and were asking detailed questions about my parents, because that's what was necessary for me to get a compartmented security clearance. Now, how did Abedin get access to the Secretary of State's emails? Because when she was vetted, she must have had a very high security clearance. She must have had a top secret or above, a compartmented, which is above top secret, security clearance. How did Abedin, with parents like that, how do you get a security clearance? It just cannot happen. It's not the way the system works.
One has to assume that Hillary Clinton has pulled strings for her, but this is a superb question for Hillary herself. Hillary needs to be asked about Nassif, needs to be asked about the trust, needs to be asked about Huma's relationship to both of them. I can already tell this is going to be politically very, very incorrect. But before the campaign is over, I suspect Huma will be as well known as, say, Juanita Broaddrick.
Well, out there for the David Brocks and the Keith Overman, there's a lot more information that we have on this situation. We're working with Roger Stone. There's a lot more information that's going to be detailed and rolled out. But there's a big question here. How did somebody with these associations, how did somebody with it coming from, quite frankly, these parents and these parents' association, how did she get access to Hillary Clinton's emails? How did she get a security clearance? And by the way, the process of security clearances, you saw it last week with the guy that was put on the nuclear panel. That was a story before Orlando broke. That's going to come back into the news. The questions about people associated with the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Cash, Peter Schweitzer did all the crony capitalism and corruption. The second phase of that investigation is looking at some of these guys' backgrounds and what access that they finally got when they bought access. There was pay to play. It was influence peddling. And by the way, that's bad enough. That's greasy enough. But when you then sit down and we're looking at these people and seeing how they had access to sensitive information about the American government, sensitive information about our diplomacy, sensitive information about our military, our counterintelligence, people are going to start asking questions. And by the way, we're going to be relentless. Hey, and guess what, David Brock and Keith Overman? We already know some of the answers. So we're going to drip this out, and you're not going to like where we're going with this, because we have factual information, and it's going to cause a lot of people. And one of the things is not just Hillary Clinton, the Republican establishment and people on the Hill, why there has not been relentless oversight of these people. There are people with access to highly classified information in our government that could not pass a background check. And we got to start asking how that happened, how it was paid. By the way, Roger, do you think there's a fifth column here in the United States, both in the media and in the government, a fifth column that is bought and paid for by our enemies?
Well, the Saudis certainly have been well known for spreading money around. They are the quintessential influence peddlers. They understand how Washington works, so it's entirely possible. Most of the experts I've spoken to, looking at the various facts regarding Huma and her rise, where she came from, her family background, her various connections, conclude that she is most likely a Saudi spy. Which is my own conclusion. But when you start to look at the questions regarding the Clintons, before long you begin to realize this isn't just large but venal corruption. Much of what they've done is treasonous. They have taken money from the Chinese, the Russians, the Saudis, and they have sold our country's secrets. They've sold our country's decisions.
Roger Stone, we look forward to following this closely. We're going to have many articles up by you and with other of our support investigative reporters helping you out on this entire investigation. It stinks to high heaven. It's going to, by the way, that coupled with the release of the 28 pages. By the way, Roger, do you believe that they'll ever release the redacted 28 pages about Saudi Arabia's direct involvement in the financing of the 9/11 attack? Do you believe they'll release that ever before this election, or do you think they're going to kick the can down the road?
They won't release it before this election. It will be released only when Donald Trump becomes president. Hillary's already taken over $25 million from the Saudis. Does anyone in their right mind think that she is going to release this document? I think we count on the election of a President Trump if we want to find out what the Saudi royal family and their retainers' real role was in the deaths of 9/11.
Roger Stone, thank you very much for joining us here on Breitbart News Daily as we continue this ongoing investigation of Uma Abedin. That is just at the top of the first inning. There's a whole lot here. You're going to see it on the pages of Breitbart, and you're going to see it through Roger Stone here on the radio show. Thank you very much, Roger.